Good afternoon, learners. Welcome to NIOS, and today we will be covering the poem Indian Weavers that is in your syllabus. So, Indian Weavers was written by Sarojini Naidu. And learners, who was Sarojini Naidu? Well, Sarojini Naidu was one of the freedom fighters of India. She was a great poetess too. Through her poems, she awakened the spirit of freedom struggle in India. Learners, Nehru was also known as the Nightingale of India. Sarojini Naidu was very brilliant since her childhood. She started writing poems from a very young age. Learners, so you can see Sarojini Naidu's picture also. Okay, so she's Sarojini Naidu. Sarojini Naidu went to London for pursuing higher studies, where she met her soulmate Padipati Naidu and they decided to marry. She got the guidance from Mahatma Gandhi to get involved in the freedom struggle and fought for the attainment of Swaraj or self-rule. Learners, let's go through some facts about Sarojini Naidu. Well, Sarojini Naidu, like you know, was a famous personality. She was a poetess as well as a freedom fighter. Sarojini Naidu was a great Indian poet. She was a political activist and an exceptional woman. Sarojini Naidu is a famous personality of India as she was a well-known poet, a social activist, a freedom fighter as well as a good administrator. Like I have shared with you before, she was also known as the Nightingale of India due to her poetic qualities. She was born on 13th February 1879 in a Bengali family in Hyderabad. She was born to parents Agorinath Chattopadhyay and Barada Sundari Devi Chattopadhyay. Sarojini Naidu cleared her matriculation and moved to London for higher studies. Learners, she was brought into politics by Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Gandhi and Nehru. In 1916, Sarojini Naidu took inspiration from Gandhiji and decided to fight for freedom. Sarojini Naidu was greatly influenced by the ideas and principles of Mahatma Gandhi. She also actively worked hard for the upliftment and quality of women in society. Sarojini Naidu, learners, became the president of the Indian National Congress in the year 1925. She also became the governor of United Provinces, which is now known as Uttar Pradesh, in 1947. She was the first woman to become the governor of an Indian state. Sarojini Naidu died on 2nd March 1949 while serving as governor of state position. Her speeches delivered in different parts of India were full of nationalism. In 1905, learners, Sarojini Naidu's first collection of poems, named as The Golden Threshold, was published, which was admired by Gopal Krishna Gokhale. She was also awarded Kesar Hind Medal by the British government for her exemplary work for alleviating epidemic of plague in India. In 1931, learners, Sarojini Naidu participated in the Second Round Table Conference along with Mahatma Gandhi and Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya. Learners, now let's go through the poem. Learners, have you ever noticed that people wear clothes of varied colors on different occasions? These variations in colors also indicate the diversity in cultures and religious communities. For example, learners, Hindu brides in North India wear red clothes, whereas in Kerala they wear white clothes. Christian brides also wear white clothes. So learners, what do you understand? That every state, they have their own culture and they have their own customs and clothes to wear on different occasions. So these themes we will be covering in the poem. So learners, let's go through some objectives. So after completing this lesson, you will be able to express your feelings and emotions effectively. You will be able to recognize and value diversity in cultures. Learners, you will also be able to enjoy the rhythm of the poem, discover the special use of language in poetry, use comparisons for effective writing, and learners, you will be able to identify the use of words to create visual images. Indian Weavers, learners, the poem is short but it's beautiful. As you know, it is written by Sarojini Naidu. This poem has been taken from the poet's first collection of poetry titled The Golden Threshold, which was published in 1905. It is divided into 3 stanzas, which are also known as the 3 quatrains, each with 2 rhyming couplets. And learners, when you'll recite the poem, you'll see the flow of language is full of rhythm and word images. The weavers are busy weaving clothes in different colors throughout the day. Each color, as well as the timing of the day, symbolizes different occasions in one's life. In the morning, they weave a bright blue colored cloth for a newborn baby, symbolizing birth and happiness. During the day, learners, they weave a bright colored purple and green cloth for the marriage veil of a queen, signifying life's celebration. And finally, at night, they weave a white colored cloth for the shroud. Shroud means the cloth of a dead body signifying death. So at night they are weaving something in white because, like you know, learners, the shroud of a dead body is in white color. Okay, so they are weaving these 3 ornaments, these 3 clothes in the poem. So this picture, learners, this shows the art of weaving. Okay, this is how weavers weave clothes. Go through it, go through the image, look at it carefully, learners. Now this is weavers weaving clothes. Okay, so imagine they are weaving it with threads, with different threads. So basically, learners, this poem represents the 3 stages of human life, that is birth, youth and death. The poet depicts Indian weavers who weave tirelessly at different times, while also describing the 3 stages of human life, from birth to death, just as the weavers do tonight from dawn to dusk. The poet, learner, selects 3 different time settings. The weavers weave the newborn baby's garments early in the morning, the queen marriage veils in the evening, and the dead man's shroud at midnight. The central theme of the poem is the parallelism that the poet draws between the 3 stages of human life and the 3 parts of the weaver's workday. So learners, in the poem, while you are reading the poem, you must pick out the commonalities, the similarities, the parallelism between the 3 stanzas. Okay, and even the symbolism in each stanza, how the weaving in the first stanza is different from the third and from the second. So you must focus on the parallelism that draws between the 3 stages of human life. Learners, now let's read the poem together. Okay? Weavers weaving at break of day, why do you weave a garment so gay? Blue as the wings of a halcyon wild, we weave the robes of a newborn child. Weavers weaving at fall of night, why do you weave a garment so bright? Like the plumes of a peacock purple and green, we weave the marriage veils of a queen. Weavers weaving solemn and still, what do you weave in the moonlight chill? White as a feather and white as a cloud, we weave a dead man's funeral shroud. Beautiful, isn't it? So go through it on your own once. Go through the poem. So basically, learners, the poem is written in iambic tetrameter, owing rhyme scheme that is AABB, CCDD and EEFF respectively. The poem style is very compelling and attractive, with each stanza beginning with a question to arouse the reader's interest. So learners, what are rhyming words? Tell me, what are rhyming words? So rhyming words are words that sound the same at the end, such as cat rhymes with hat. Why? Because in the end at 80, so that's the same. Jumping matches with bumping, right? So these are rhyming words. Cat, cat, jumping, bumping. When a poem has rhyming words at the ends of its line, they are called end rhymes. Here is an example of end rhyme. Okay, so there are two sentences. My cat is nice, my cat likes mice. So look at the end part. Look at the end part of the word nice and mice. Aren't they rhyming? Okay, don't they sound familiar? Don't they sound similar? Yes, they do. So these are what? Rhyming words. Nice and mice are rhyming words. Learners, rhythm in writing is like the beat in music. In poetry, rhythm implies that certain words are produced more forcefully than the others and may be held for a longer duration. Rhythm is also created by repeating words or phrases, sometimes by repeating whole lines and sentences. So when I tell you, that A, A, B, B, E, E, F, F, they are the rhyme scheme. So learners, what is rhyme scheme? A rhyme scheme is a way of describing the pattern of end rhymes in a poem. Each new sound at the end of the line is given a letter, starting with A, then B, and so on. If an end sound repeats the end sound of an earlier line, it gets the same letter as the earlier line. Here are two different poems, learners. Let's go through the poems and then you'll get to know about the rhyme scheme. So, my cat is nice, my cat is mice. My cat is fat, I like my cat. Okay? So, and here my cat is nice, my cat is fat, my cat likes mice, I like my cat. So, nice here rhymes with mice. So, A. Then my cat is fat. Fat in the end rhymes with cat in the end. So, B. Okay, in the next line, in the next poem, learners, my cat is nice, my cat is fat. Nice doesn't rhyme with fat. But my cat likes mice, I like my cat. So here nice rhymes with mice and fat rhymes with cat. So alternate lines are rhyming with each other. So that is how the rhyme scheme becomes AB. And in the first poem, consecutive lines are rhyming with each other. Hence, the rhyme scheme of the first poem is AABB, and in the second poem alternate lines are rhyming with each other. Hence, the rhyme scheme is AB, AB. Look at it on your own. Take some time. Analyze it. Okay, so this is how you write a poem's rhyme scheme, by looking at the end word of the line. Okay. Okay, learners. So I hope you have understood the rhyme scheme and how to, show the rhyme scheme in a poem and how to point out that what is the rhyme scheme of the poem. Okay, so I hope you have learned it today. So let's go through the poem, learners. So like we have discussed and recited the poem together, now let's begin with the analysis of the poem. Indian Weavers is one of Sarojini Naidu's most popular poems, and it is included in the Golden Threshold. You know that. It is an exquisite poem and it symbolizes Hindu Trinity. The poet Sarojini Naidu skillfully uses the varied works of the Indian weavers as a symbol of the pattern grave and gay woven by life. The harmony of three different times, daybreak, nightfall and moonlight, with the work woven in each, makes the symbols peculiarly appropriate. The poem, learners, introduces an Indian scene, that of weavers, weaving particularly in the countryside. Cloth on handlooms in different colors. The poem is written in question-answer form, and it is symbolic. It is only a thought rather than an experience. Okay. So the poet symbolizes a lot of things, and if you read it one more time, you'll realize that it is showing somebody's thought rather than experience. The whole comedy, learners, and the whole comedy and tragedy of human life is written in the poem. The poem has a complex texture which is woven into a harmonious whole by reference to words, colors, different hours of the day, different moods, similes, images and sound patterns. Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu, learners, it consists of 3 stanzas, and in all the 3 stanzas it describes the dresses that Indian weavers weave. The poetess uses 3 particular times of the day to describe 3 stages of our lives. Metaphorically, each time and the dress weaved in that time symbolizes a particular stage of life. So learners, what is the theme? Sarojini Naidu's poem Indian Weavers highlights the craft and skill of the Indian weavers. The poem tells about the 3 most important stages in human life, that is, yes, birth, marriage and death. The poetess relates these 3 stages to different colors and different times of the day. The poem, learners, also describes the stages like I have discussed, birth, marriage and death. In another way, it tells us about the life cycle of a human being, means childhood, youth and old age. The poet also asks 3 questions to weavers, and their answers are related to life. The poetess says that weavers start their work in early morning. Here, early morning indicates the beginning of our life, and they are weaving bright garments in blue color as the wings of a halcyon bird. When the poetess asks the question, weavers tell that they are weaving the garment of a newborn child. So here, morning symbolizes what? Birth of a child. It is related to the childhood of a person. The first stanza, learners, it is related to birth, okay, to recreation. It is related with the childhood, and childhood is more cheerful. That is why it is represented in blue color. In the evening time, the weavers are weaving attractive garments of a queen for her marriage in purple and green color, like the feathers of a peacock. Learners, if you've seen a peacock, you will know that its feathers are generally in purple and green color. And this part, the second stanza, it suggests the youth of a human being. Learners, youth is the golden time of a life. Here, the expression is used, the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, to describe the young age of life, more energetic and attractive. So the second stanza, it describes marriage and the youth. Okay, so first stanza, it described, the birth, childhood, and the second stanza, it describes when a human being reaches a marriageable age. In the moonlight night, the weavers' mood change. They have become serious and calm. They are weaving the garment in white color, like feather and cloud. They are weaving the clothes of a dead man's funeral shroud. It clearly indicates the old age of a person. Okay, learners, so now I hope you have understood. So the first stanza, it depicts childhood, it depicts birth, it depicts recreation. The second stanza, it depicts marriage, it depicts youth. And the third stanza, it depicts death, it depicts old age. So this is why the learners are weaving something in white, because white is associated with old age. Okay? In the evening time, the weavers are weaving attractive garments of a queen. So the white colored feather and cloud indicates the end of life. Feather had come out from the wing now. It has no use and the cloud is moving. After few minutes, we can't see the cloud in the actual place. So learners, what is the message of the poem? What is the message? Well, the poem's message is that life is in constant motion. Life and time, learners, it does not stop for anybody, okay? It is constantly moving. We are constantly, going forward in life. So life is in constant motion, with each stage characterized by its own set of emotions, lasting only a short time before the next one arrives to take place. The poem is enjoyable to read because it is a short poem with a lot of imagery. Do you agree, learners? Imagery is what? That it is giving you so many images, so many thoughts to talk about. You're reading the poem, but the image has been created in your mind. And another message that, we learn from the poem is the fate, the destiny determines when a person is born, how long he or she lives, and when he or she dies. The weavers weaving garments and a shroud for various occasions may be the poem's contextual meaning, but symbolically the poem represents the cycle of life and death, with fates weaving the threads of each stage. So learners, let's go through some important points from the text. Well, this poem shows people of different communities usually wear or gift different colors of clothes on different occasions. So this poem is about wearing different clothes on different occasions. Colors in this poem symbolize different feelings, moods and ideas. For example, like we do it in our regular lives, like for example, red symbolizes something related with love. White symbolizes something related with purity. Green symbolizes envy, being envy, jealousy. Okay, so colors also symbolize your moods, your feelings and ideas. And in the poem, learners, different times of the day represent different stages of life. Morning represents childhood, Evening represents youth and night represents death or old age or end of life. The weavers are they are a very important part of Indian rural society. The weavers weave at all hours of day and night and represent Trinity. The poet weaves three garments, and these three garments indicate patterns to convey the significant message about the human life. The three encounters of the poet with the weavers are significant because the times correspond to three stages in human life: the birth, the marriage, and the death. The learners, the poem presents weavers weaving three types of garments, you know that. The weavers weave blue garments for children in the morning. They make marriage veils for queen during the day and night. Okay, and in the end, they weave white clothes for the dead, and it depicts what? Yes, it depicts old age. So this poem, learners, indicates different stages of human life: the child, youth, and death. And the central idea of the poem is that human beings pass through different stages of life characterized by joys, responsibilities, and sorrows. So this is all part of a human life. You can't escape joys. Without joys, there are no responsibilities. Without responsibilities, there are no. So they're all interlinked. You can't escape one emotion or the other. Okay, so life is amalgamation of all these three feelings which are regularly faced by human beings. Symbols of clothes and times of the day have been used beautifully, and this poem, learners, can be a metaphor for the three stages of human life. Learners, now let's proceed with some literary devices that have been used in the text. So in this poem, different literary devices like simile, metaphor, personification, they are used to make the poem more effective. And especially, there are a lot of symbols, lot of images, and lot of similes that have been used. Now, what is a simile, learners? In a simile, a comparison is made between two different objects which have some common points. A simile is generally introduced by the words like or as. Blue as the wings of halcyon wild, bright like the plumes of a peacock. So, simile is basically when we are comparing two words and we use like or as. So learners, before proceeding with other literary devices, let's take a short break.
करने राहों को आलोकित करने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने। धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय हम कहीं पड़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो कभी पड़े हम कहीं पड़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो मित्रों हम उठे और जागे मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने हम अपना जीवन स्वयं बने हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने स्वयं बने हम
Welcome back, learners. So before the break, we were discussing about some literary devices that have been used in the text. So let's proceed forward. In poetry, different literary devices like simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, etc. are used to make the expression more effective. In this poem, learners, we are using simile, imagery and symbolism. Simile, in a simile, a comparison is made between two different objects which have some common points. A simile is generally introduced by the words like or as. So, the first example that has been shared with you, blue as the wings of halcyon wild. So, the color blue has been compared with the bird, the wings of the bird is halcyon wild. Okay, so as is used in similes. Next, bright like the plumes of a peacock. So brightness has been compared with the colors of a peacock. Okay, so simile, I hope you have understood. In a simile, comparison is made between two different objects which have similar points, which are quite similar. Next, imagery. The suggestion of a clear mental picture or image by the use of words is called imagery. It is a suggestive word picture. A poet can create or suggest beautiful sight effects and sound effects by means of words. So, like I have told you, imagery, so when you read a poem, there is an image that forms in your mind, and that is imagery. Weavers, like in the poem, I'll share with you an example of imagery. Weavers weaving at the break of day. The above expression suggests two images, early morning and weavers weaving clothes. So imagery is basically the images that are, that are created in your mind. Next, symbolism, learners. The use of symbols in the poem represent different ideas or qualities. Poets and writers often use objects or colors or different words to denote an idea. In this poem, the different times of the day and colors of fabric are conveying the idea of a life cycle, such as morning, morning, the morning time is associated with birth, happiness and hope. Evenings are associated with the celebration of life during the youth and middle age. And night represents death. Okay, so an idea. So what are symbols? Yes, symbols represent an idea or qualities. So learners, let's go through the critical appreciation of the poem. Indian Weavers is one of the most popular poems of Sarojini Naidu. It is included in the Golden Treasure, like I have discussed before. The whole poem is highly symbolic. The Sarojini Naidu skillfully uses the varied work of the Indian weavers, such as the pattern of the grave and gay woven by life. The harmony of three different times, daybreak, nightfall and moonlight, with the work woven in each makes the symbol peculiarly appropriate. The poem also introduces an Indian scene, that of weavers weaving particularly in the countryside, cloths on handlooms in different colored patterns. Through the means of the poem, what is the poet denoting? Through the means of the poem, yes learner, the poetess highlights the craft and skill of the weavers. She speaks about the three important stages in a man's life, that is birth, marriage and death, and relates them to different colors and different times of the day. The weavers weave a blue cloth for a newborn baby in the morning, a green and purple marriage veil for a queen in the afternoon, and a white funeral shroud for a dead man in the night. The theme of the poem, Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu, is coming of age. In this poem, learners, the poet talks about the stages of life from being born to death. The weavers are the ones who are telling about the different stages of life. Coming of age means the age or occasion when one formally becomes an adult. It also indicates that different colors in the poem, learners, yes, it indicates different moods. So now I hope you have understood the poem. Now let's look at some back exercises. So if you look at some back exercises, you will come to know that there is this word building exercise given at the end of the chapter. So given are some different professions, and if you add the suffix er or or, they become verbs or nouns. Okay, so for example, weave is a verb. Okay, and if you add er, it becomes a weaver. So weaver is a profession. Okay, so by adding er or or to a verb, it becomes what? It becomes a profession. So these are some word building exercises that had been given at the end of the chapter. For example, photograph. Photograph is a noun. If you add er to it, it becomes a photographer. So these are what? These are er, or, these are all suffixes. And if you add suffix er or or to a verb, it becomes a profession. Please go through the example, learners. Now let's do this exercise on our own. You should, now like I have shared the suffixes with you, you should know how to divide a word into a root word and a suffix. For example, teacher. Teach plus er. Preacher. Preach plus er. Okay, driver. Drive plus er. Okay, so words are formed by adding suffix to the root verb. So for example, teacher, teach plus er. Teach is a root verb and er is a suffix. Okay, so go through this exercise. Actor, act plus or. Act is a verb, Okay, and if you add OR, it becomes a noun. It becomes a profession. Okay. Paint plus ER. Paint is a verb. You paint something, and if you add ER to it, it becomes a profession. It becomes a noun. So by adding suffix ER and OR to a verb, it becomes a noun and a profession. Learners, sometimes words express happy feelings and sometimes words express sad feelings. So on the screen you can see different verbs and some of them they express happiness and some of them they express sadness. So now it's up to you to divide these words into two categories. Tell me, learners, sad, what do you understand? Is it a happy word or is it a sad word? Very good, it is a sad word. Okay. Glad, tell me, is it a happy word or is it a sad word? Excellent, it's a happy word. Delighted, yes learners, it's a happy word. Depressed, depressed is a sad word. Okay. Excited, excited again is a happy word. Gloomy, learners, yes, gloomy is a sad word. Dejected, again sad, you are dejected when you are sad, you are depressed, you have lost all hopes in your life. Joyous, joyous is a happy word. Yes. Downcast, again learners, downcast is a sad word. Cheerful, cheerful means being happy all the time. Yes, cheerful, again it's a happy word. Annoyed, annoyed, yes, you are right, it is again a sad word. Miserable, miserable is a sad word again. Jubilant, it's a happy word. Thrilled, again happy. So learners, go through these words. If you want, you can also refer to a dictionary. And then you can divide these words in two categories, that is sad and happy. Okay, so do it. This exercise has also been mentioned in in the end of the chapter. Do it. So colors are used as symbols, not only to indicate different moods but also to indicate ideas. Now learners, you must at the end of the exercise, so there is this question where you have to match the colors with what they stand for. Okay. For example, white, like I have discussed before, white describes peace, it describes purity. Red describes love. Green describes jealousy. Black symbolizes something that is very negative. Okay, so you must go through the colors and what they symbolize. Okay. Now, let's go through some back exercises, some more questions, some in text and overall questions. So, the weavers are weaving the cloth for, like in the first stanza, learners, tell me, what are the weavers weaving the cloth for? Very good. In the first stanza, they are weaving the clothes for babies. Yeah. Second, they are compared to dash because of the similarity of color, that is blue. Yes, in the first stanza, they have been, the colors have been compared to whom? Yes, the bird, Halcyon Wild. Next, gay in line 2 means bright. Which mood of the weavers does it indicate? So, gay, what do you understand by gay? Choose one option out of the 3. Excellent. Gay describes cheerfulness. What is the similarity between the morning time of the day and the birth of the child? Tell me, learners. Yes, both, the morning time and the birth of the child, they both describe creation, a new beginning. Morning time describes a beginning of a new day, and birth also describes a beginning, a new start. Okay. Next, what are the weavers weaving in the second stanza? What are they weaving? Yes, they are weaving the queen's veil, which is similar to the feathers of a peacock. Next, what time of the day is shown in the second stanza, learners? Tell me. Yes, evening time. We wear colors that reflect our mood. Give 2 examples. You know, this question is very subjective. So, if you're feeling happy, generally you wear bright colors, and if you're feeling sad, you generally wear white or black. So, you know, you can answer it according to your own wish. Okay, what time is indicated through the phrase moonlight chill? Yes, midnight. Okay. What is the similarity between death and cold night? Okay, answer it, learners. Come on, I'm giving you some time. Well, death and cold night both symbolize the end of life. Okay, cold night means, okay, now the night is over, and death, the human life is over. So both of them, they symbolize end. Okay. Okay, next, which mood of the weavers does it indicate in the last stanza? So when you look at the last stanza, what does it show? Tick the right answer. Does it show disappointment? Does it show frustration? Or does it show sadness? Yes, it shows sadness. They are sad. Why? Because they are weaving a dead man's shroud. Look at some more questions, learners. What is the message of the poem? What are the 3 stages of life mentioned in the poem Indian Weavers? What are the Indian weavers mostly in debt? Why are they weaving bright colors? Look at the questions, learners, and then one by one we'll be discussing all the answers of these questions. So what is the message of the poem Indian Weavers, learners? Well, the central theme of the poem is parallelism that the poet beautifully draws between the 3 parts of the weaver's workday and the 3 stages of human life. Okay. So the message of the poem, what is it? That there is a certain similarity and parallelism between the 3 stanzas and the 3 stages of human life. What are the 3 stages of life mentioned in the poem Indian Weavers? Well, the 3 events referred in the poem are birth, marriage and death. The 3 stages of human life indicate the 3 events like I have discussed before. What are the 3 events, learners? Yes, childhood, youth and old age. Why are Indian weavers mostly in debt? The weavers are often in debt as they take loans to pay for rising food, medical costs and educate their children, hoping they will get lucrative jobs. Why are they weaving bright colors? Well, they are weaving garments so bright like the plumes of a peacock, purple and green, because they are weaving it for the queen, which she will use to make her marriage veil. So they are weaving bright colors for the queen on her marriage. Okay, so what do you think is the present condition of weavers these days? Well, the weavers in present times are not generally well off, like you know. They face serious competition from the large textile mills that can produce garments at a faster and cheaper rate. Many of the weavers have altogether left the profession or are forced to work for meager income in large factories that produce cloth on power looms. So basically we are getting more clothes from the factories rather than the weavers. So weavers these days are mostly they are at loss. Okay. So you know, now let's come to the last question before we end, because you know time is we are just around the corner, and I think let's just go through the last question. So learners, you must define the following terms. What is the difference between weaving, tailoring, knitting and embroidering? Well, weaving is the process of forming a fabric by interlacing yarn on a hand loom or a power loom. The interlaces are known as wefts and wraps. One who weaves is a weaver. Tailoring is the process of stitching garments from a fabric on a manual or an automatic tailoring machine. So a tailor, basically he or she, they stitch garments, they stitch clothes, and weavers, they make clothes from the scratch. Knitting is the process by which yarn is handled or looped to create a textile or a fabric. It is used to make many types of garments such as woolen or hosiery garments. So you must have seen your grandmothers or even your mothers knitting during winters. So you knit woolens. Okay? And what is embroidering? It is an art of decorating clothes by sewing patterns on it with thread. Many ornamental patterns can be created on simple fabrics with this art to make tablecloths, drapery, ethnic wear, etc. So embroidery is basically used on clothes to make them look more attractive and more decorative. Okay learners, this is it for today. Please go through the poem on your own, go through the analysis. I hope this class has proven to be beneficial to all of you. Thank you for listening.